You are never a victim of the world you see. You are only and always a victim of your own inner conversation. Stop for a moment and listen, not to the world but to yourself. The words you speak in silence echo louder than thunder in the heavens, for they shape the form and condition of your life. You have spoken every event into being, not with noise, but with assumption, with belief, with vibration. And the greatest of all these is your mouth, for from the mouth flows the abundance of the heart. The ancients said, "Let there be light." And there was light, not because they were gods, but because they spoke from awareness. You too are creating when you say, "I can't afford it," "I always feel tired," or "nothing ever works for me." These are not complaints, they are commands. They are instructions to your subconscious, and it is obedient beyond your knowing. Every careless word, every emotional sigh, is an order sent into the formless that takes shape in time. You think it small, but it is law. Control your mouth, and you shall see your world bend. The mouth is only the servant of the mind, and the mind, when undisciplined, is like a ship tossed upon a stormy sea. Yet even in the tempest, there is one command it obeys without question your assumption. Assume you are wealthy, assume you are well, assume you are calm, and the mind must align. It has no power of its own. It is a mirror, reflecting only what you are bold enough to accept as true. And if you accept chaos, then chaos shall you know. But accept peace, and peace shall unfold itself in forms you never dared imagine. But what is mind without mood? Just as the wind carries the scent of the sea, your mood carries the tone of your being. Mood is the climate of manifestation. You cannot plant the seed of wealth in a mood of lack and expect abundance. You must feel the reality of what you desire before it appears. You must enter the scene mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Live there. Dwell there, not for a moment, but until the world cannot deny what you have already lived 1,000 times in imagination. Money is not the root of your troubles. Your concept of money is. You have placed it outside of yourself, given it to jobs, systems, and men. But money, like all things, is a shadow, your shadow. Do you believe yourself to be lacking? Then so shall your purse be. Do you believe yourself to be abundant? Then watch as the rivers flow. Do not chase money. Assume the mood of already having. Speak only from the place of I have, not I will. There is no future in God, only now. Control your mouth, and you control your seed. Control your mind, and you control the field. Control your mood, and you command the weather. Control your money, and you will see that it was never about money, but about belief. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not scripture for ceremony, it is psychological truth. The word is not simply language, it is vibration clothed in sound. It is feeling made audible. Every word you utter, whether aloud or within, is a spiritual decree sent forth to shape the seen world from the unseen. When you speak, you prophesy. When you think in words, you construct the blueprint of your destiny. Man is not punished for his words. He is punished by them, for they contain the pattern of his belief. The subconscious is not a judge. It does not reason, it does not filter, and it does not correct. It is pure, infinite power, ready to carry out whatever it receives in the language of feeling and assumption. And words are the carriers of that feeling. When spoken with conviction, when uttered in the furnace of belief, they bypass the intellect and imprint themselves upon the depths of the soul. If you say, I always fail, even in jest, even lightly, you are opening the door for failure to enter. Not because fate wills it, but because you have invited it in through the voice of your own command. The law is impersonal, yet it is perfectly accurate. Just as a seed carries within it the entire structure of the tree, your words carry within them the entire consequence of your future. Speak with resentment, and you sow resentment. Speak with gratitude, and you sow increase. Speak with defeat, and your world will bow to match it. What you speak, especially with repetition and emotion, you engrave upon the fabric of your being, and the subconscious, like fertile earth, grows what is planted, regardless of the gardener's awareness. So few understand that their daily utterances are not harmless habits, but rituals of creation. The man who complains of sickness speaks sickness into form. The woman who declares, "I can never find love," builds an invisible wall around herself. It is not the world that denies you, but your spoken word that instructs your world to do so. For every outer experience is but the echo of an inner decree, a whisper spoken in the secret places of the soul. Consider this: when you say, "I am tired," the body responds accordingly. When you say, "I am poor," the mind begins to close the doors of opportunity. When you say, "I am unwanted," life rearranges itself to fulfill the prophecy. These are not idle statements. They are seeds, each one carrying within it the mold of its fulfillment. You may say them 1,000 times without noticing the fruit. But one day, when the crop appears, you will say, "This is unfair," forgetting the many seeds you have sown with your careless declarations. The words, "I am," are the holiest of all combinations. They are the name of being itself. When you say, "I am," you call that which follows into existence. Say, "I am secure," and you breathe security into your experience. Say, "I am abundant," and you command abundance to come forward. But say, "I am broken," and so you shall be. The creative act is always in motion, not just when you are praying or meditating, but in the casual sentences you murmur throughout the day. What you affirm consistently, you internalize. And what is internalized must be expressed. This is law. You do not need to understand the mechanics of how a seed becomes a tree. You only need to plant the right seed in the right soil. Likewise, you do not need to know how the subconscious rearranges your reality. You need only speak as one who already possesses what they desire. Assume the tone of completion. Speak not as a beggar, but as a possessor. Speak from the place of, "It is done," not, "I hope it will be." Watch your words, not out of fear, but from reverence. For every word you speak is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Do not say what you do not wish to see. Do not entertain what you do not want to be. Become selective in your speech, precise in your declarations, and firm in your affirmations. This is not self-help. This is law. The disciplined tongue is the key to a liberated life. And remember, your world is not responding to your outer actions. It is responding to your inner conversations, those constant streams of assumption disguised as thoughts. Clean up the temple of your speech, and you will purify the temple of your life. Speak as though you already are what you long to be, and soon the world will rise in agreement. You have been given the gift of the word. Use it as the divine instrument that it is. The mouth speaks not independently of the mind, but as its loudest messenger. A man does not speak what he does not inwardly accept as true. Even his most idle talk is the outer shadow of an inner belief. If you wish to know what a man truly assumes, do not listen only to his stated prayers or declarations made in ritual. Listen instead to the words he casually offers in frustration, in reaction, in passing complaint. These betray the content of his consciousness far more than any carefully constructed affirmation. You cannot silence the tongue unless you first master the thoughts from which it springs. Just as a stream cannot rise higher than its source, your speech cannot exceed the assumptions you hold about yourself and your world. The man who habitually speaks of failure has already built within himself the image of defeat. The woman who always finds reason to express anxiety has already seated herself in the throne of fear. They do not speak this way because of what has happened to them. Rather, what has happened is the natural outflow of what they already accepted as inevitable. All that comes from the mouth is the revelation of that which has been planted in the mind. And the mind, left unattended, will grow whatever seed it is offered, be it of lack or abundance, love or sorrow, power or helplessness. There is no mystery here. The law is perfect and unfailing. Your assumptions condition your feelings, and your feelings move the tongue. It is not enough to force better words onto the lips. One must alter the source from which those words are born. If you find yourself constantly justifying failure, you have assumed failure as identity. If you always explain why wealth escapes you, you have already accepted that it is not yours. The lips cannot lie when the mind is saturated with belief. You may say, I am successful. But if your inner world teems with doubt, the outer world will respond to the doubt, not the phrase. The subconscious does not respond to the language of words alone, but to the language of feeling. And feeling is the body of assumption. The mind is not the brain. It is not the intellect. It is the spiritual atmosphere you live in, the unseen dimension from which all things spring. It is the inner kingdom, and the mouth is its town crier. The kingdom does not remain secret for long, for the tongue eventually gives it away. A mind filled with poverty must speak in the tone of struggle. A mind filled with freedom must speak in the voice of power. These patterns cannot be hidden. Your life speaks louder than your lips ever could. The great illusion is to believe that speech shapes the mind. But the opposite is true. Change the assumption, and the speech will change. Transform your inner self-concept, and the outer tone of your words will shift without effort. A man who knows himself to be healed does not need to force declarations of health. He naturally speaks as one who has already been made whole. A woman who assumes herself to be loved does not recite affirmations of worth. Her entire conversation reflects the ease of her acceptance. If you truly wish to change your world, begin not with the tongue, but with the silence before speech. In the quiet chamber of the inner mind, observe what assumptions you have permitted to dwell. Are you inwardly rich or poor, bold or timid, whole or broken? Whatever dwells there will find its way out through your mouth, and once spoken, it begins to gather form in the world around you. Words may seem small, but they are seeds, and your assumptions are the soil. Together, they birth the conditions of your reality. You may say 100 things each day, and forget most of them. But your inner conversations are never forgotten by the law. Each sentence, each sigh, each mental image is recorded in the subconscious and responded to with precision. And your mouth is the most faithful indicator of this inner dialogue. A man does not need a mirror to know what he looks like. He only needs to listen to the tone of his own voice when no one is watching. The mouth betrays the image the mind holds. You must, therefore, re-educate your imagination, not by shouting better sentences, but by first feeling yourself into new assumptions. Say not, I am rich, but be rich in feeling, and the tongue will catch up. Say not, I am safe, but assume the mood of safety, and your words will conform. It is the spirit behind the speech that holds the power, not the syllables. When the mind accepts, the mouth becomes holy. It speaks only of what must be, not what may be, but what already is. And so life follows. Your mood is the silent architect of your reality. It is the tone you set without speaking, the vibration you broadcast without uttering a word. Just as the climate of a region determines what plants may grow, so your inner mood governs the type of events, people, and circumstances that may appear in your world. You may speak words of desire, you may make bold declarations of faith, but if the mood contradicts the speech, it is the mood that becomes law. You do not attract what you say, you attract what you are in feeling. Mood is not a fleeting emotion, it is the sustained atmosphere of your inner world. A man may feel joy for a moment and return to a climate of worry. That moment of joy has little creative power. But if one learns to dwell in joy, to make it his atmosphere, then all things must align with it. Life cannot defy the state you consistently occupy. To assume a mood is to enter a world, And to remain in that mood is to remain in that world until it hardens into fact. Most do not realize that they live in habitual moods. These moods, whether of lack, doubt, fear, or anticipation, act as the silent compass that directs their steps. A woman who lives in the mood of abandonment will encounter stories, faces, and circumstances that echo that abandonment. Not because life is cruel, but because law is exact. The outer world is the mirror, not the master. It reflects back only the quality of mood sustained within. There is no exception to this. When you close your eyes and feel defeated, your mood has sent out its decree. When you wake up in a mood of expectancy, the same law applies. This law knows no bias. It answers the rich and the poor alike, the aware and the unaware. The difference is that those who understand the creative nature of mood become deliberate, while those who do not become victims of a world they themselves designed in ignorance. To live unconsciously is to surrender your future to the moods you never questioned. Mood is not changed by effort of will, but by assumption. You do not fight darkness, you turn on the light. Likewise, you do not resist anxiety, you assume the mood of peace. You do not struggle against poverty, you assume the mood of plenty. This is not imagination as fantasy, but imagination as reality. For what you accept as true in imagination becomes the blueprint of your experience. It is not what happens that matters. It is the mood in which you respond to what happens. If you respond in defeat, then defeat multiplies. If you respond in mastery, then all things must yield. You are not at the mercy of conditions. You are at the mercy of your moods, and your moods create the conditions. If you wish to know what mood you dwell in, look not at your words, but at your reflexes. When someone offers you a new opportunity, does your inner reaction say yes, or that could never happen for me? When you face the unknown, do you feel curious or cautious? These reflexes reveal your dwelling place, and your dwelling place is your destiny. Mood can be cultivated like a garden. The more you return to a mood, the more familiar it becomes. Eventually, it feels like home. This is how transformation happens. Not by sudden flashes, but by faithful dwelling. Assume the mood of the one who already is what they desire to be. Feel the tone of their laughter, the ease of their movement, the confidence in their walk. Not just once, but morning and evening, until the mood becomes natural. You are not trying to get to that state. You are declaring that you already are in it. And once you are in it inwardly, the outer world must rearrange itself in harmony. To change your world, begin with your mood. Not by faking joy, but by selecting a new state and abiding in it. There is no power outside of consciousness. And mood is consciousness in motion. If your life appears barren, it is not because the world is barren, but because the mood you carry does not permit harvest. Change the mood, and the harvest will come. You do not need to fix the world. You need only fix your inner weather. The law will do the rest. Live each day aware of the mood you carry. Be vigilant, not fearful. Joy is not a gift you wait for. It is a state you choose. Confidence is not a product of success. It is the seed that grows it. Walk as if it were already done. Speak as if the answer has already come. Feel as though nothing were missing. And that mood, faithfully held, will call forth all that belongs to it. Money is never the cause. It is the effect. It does not hold power of its own, nor does it come by effort alone. Money is the visible echo of your invisible belief. What you assume to be true of yourself determines how freely money flows, how it arrives, and how long it stays. Your concept of self is the mold into which the substance of money must pour. If the mold is small, cracked, or uncertain, then the stream will be blocked, not by external lack, but by internal resistance. Man does not attract what he wants. He attracts what he believes himself to be. If you see yourself as lacking, then no matter how much money you chase, it will escape you. If you see yourself as secure, wealthy, and provided for, even when the wallet is empty, the law must conform. Your world does not reflect effort. It reflects identity. And your concept of self is the invisible script your life must follow. There are those who work endlessly and yet remain in want, and others who seem to do little and yet live in overflow. It is not the labor that makes the difference. It is the consciousness behind the labor. One man sees himself as struggling, striving, barely making it. He may never say it aloud, but his feelings reveal the truth. He speaks of bills, budgets, and broken dreams. Another man sees himself as favored, chosen, always expanding. Even in quiet moments, he assumes increase. Life obeys the latter, not because he works more, but because he is more in thought, in feeling, in concept. You may hold the idea that money is difficult to obtain, that it requires connections, degrees, or extraordinary talent. But these are merely reflections of the inner image you hold. If you believe yourself unworthy of ease, then money must come hard. If you believe riches are reserved for others, then the law must honor that belief. You will see opportunities pass you, not because they were never there, but because your self-concept filtered them out. Change the concept of self, and you change your relationship with money. Begin by withdrawing your belief from outer causes. The job, the bank account, the economy, these are shadows, not sources. They shift in response to the inner man. Your true employer is your assumption. Your real investment is your imagination. Money obeys the one who sees himself as a conduit, not a container. It flows to the one who is relaxed in the awareness that it is already his by right of consciousness. The beggar and the billionaire live under the same law. The difference is not in their environment, but in their conviction. One has accepted scarcity as identity. He may wish for more, but his inner speech tells a different story. I never have enough. I must hold on tight. I can't afford that. These phrases seem harmless, but they are spells repeated daily, charged with feeling, and written upon the subconscious. The other man, though he may lose millions, carries himself with the mood of abundance. He expects increase even in setbacks, and so the tide always turns in his favor. The law does not punish or reward, it reflects. It is perfect, mechanical, and precise. When you say, I am wealthy, and feel it to be true, the law begins its work, not by magic, but by natural means. People, ideas, invitations, inspirations, all conspire to bring into visibility what you have accepted in spirit. But if you say, I am rich, and feel unworthy, if you declare abundance while inwardly doubting it, then you speak from division. And a divided house cannot stand. There is only one way to alter your finances, alter your concept of self. Do not try to manipulate money directly. Do not beg, chase, or wrestle with numbers. Withdraw your attention from lack and place it on identity. Ask not, how can I get more? But who must I be for wealth to feel natural to me? Create that self in imagination. Dwell in the mood of already having. See yourself not as one becoming rich, but one who already is. And then remain there, not with strain, but with certainty. The world may take a moment to catch up, but it must. The mirror cannot help but reflect what stands before it. Money is not coming from the outside. It is drawn from within. It is summoned by self-concept and retained by self-regard. When you know yourself to be the source, the well will never run dry. Life gives to the one who gives to himself first in thought, who dresses himself inwardly in the garments of opulence. Even when others see rags, assume the feeling, hold it fast, and let the river rise. Discipline is not suppression, it is creation. To discipline the tongue and mind is to awaken to your true inheritance. You were not placed here to drift, to react, to mimic the voices of the crowd. You were placed here to command, and the command is issued not by shouting or struggling, but by the silent structure of your inner speech. The one who has mastered his inner dialogue, who selects his thoughts as a craftsman selects the tools for fine work, will soon find that the outer world mirrors his authority. But the one who allows his mind to roam unchecked and his mouth to echo fear will continue to wander in shadows, calling it fate. The wealth you seek, the peace you crave, the success you long for, they all dwell within. But the gatekeeper to this kingdom is discipline. Not the kind born of effort or punishment, but the discipline of choosing only that which aligns with the truth you wish to embody. Every thought you permit is a stone laid in the foundation of your world. Every sentence you utter, especially those whispered in solitude, are brushstrokes painting the scene of your tomorrow. You do not live in the world as it is. You live in the world as you assume it to be. An assumption is shaped and reinforced by discipline. Thoughts may come uninvited and unfiltered, but what you dwell upon, what you repeat, what you clothe in emotion, that is what takes root. And once rooted, it will sprout into experience. You are not called to stop every thought, but to become aware of their nature. Is this thought life-giving? Does it confirm the man I intend to be? Or does it shrink me, shame me, remind me of illusions I no longer wish to entertain? That which you repeat, you authorize. That which you feel while thinking, you set into motion. Speech is the echo of thought, and often the revealer of your hidden convictions. A man may speak of riches while his inner voice whispers lack. A woman may declare confidence, but her casual remarks betray insecurity. It is not the boldest statement that holds power. It is the most consistent. Your tongue is a tool of prophecy. Do you use it to rehearse your defeat, to dramatize your delays, to explain why things cannot work out for you? Then you have unknowingly written the script of your own stagnation. But discipline cuts through this. It does not argue with old beliefs. It replaces them. It speaks new truths, even when the senses mock them. It thinks on beauty when circumstances suggest despair. Discipline is not the denial of what is seen, but the commitment to a higher unseen law. The law that says, as within, so without. If you are willing to choose your inner conversations carefully, to refuse to speak from complaint or lack, then the world must obey the new order. A disciplined mind is a wealthy mind, not because it stores money, but because it produces ideas, it emits frequency, it carries conviction, and money, opportunity, relationships. These are not things to chase, but things that respond to your frequency. You become magnetic by the clarity of your focus, not by the volume of your striving. The man who holds the image of his ideal self steadily, who does not allow passing moods or appearances to shake it, becomes the one to whom all things flow, not by force but by law. Practice the art of inner rehearsal. When you wake, choose the thought that begins your day. When you speak, let no word betray your vision. When you are alone, be watchful, not for danger, but for wandering thoughts that try to take you out of alignment. Correct them gently, redirect them with authority. Affirm not just with words, but with feeling. Say to yourself, this is who I am, and then act, speak, think, and walk as though it were already done. The discipline is not in effort, it is in consistency. To those who observe from the outside, it may seem like patience or optimism, but to the disciplined mind, it is simply truth, accepted before it is seen. This truth, once honored repeatedly, gathers momentum. It draws to itself its likeness. It materializes itself in form, in people, in events, in unexpected doors swinging open. The disciplined soul does not chase outcomes. He prepares the inner world, knowing that the outer must come into harmony. He tends the garden of thought and speech as one entrusted with sacred soil. And indeed, you are entrusted. Each thought is a seed. Each word is water. Each feeling is sunlight. What you nourish will grow. So discipline not with fear, but with love. For within this discipline lies your freedom. Within this mastery lies your wealth. Within this silence, the voice of creation is always speaking, waiting only for your agreement. So I say to you, master the mouth, and you master the gate. Master the mind, and you chart your course. Master the mood, and you alter the weather of your life. Master your concept of wealth, and you no longer chase what already belongs to you. Master your discipline, and you become the scribe of your destiny. You were never meant to bow before circumstances. You were meant to rise above them in consciousness. Every world you have known has come from within. Every condition you have feared or loved has bowed to the image you held of yourself. Now you are called to hold that image deliberately. Begin in silence. Begin in imagination. Begin with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Do not wait for proof. Do not ask for signs. Become the sign. Walk as though your prayer is answered. Speak as one who already is. Think not from what may be, but from what is already done. For nothing is withheld from the one who lives in the end. This is the secret. This is the law. This is the truth behind all appearances. You become what you assume. And the moment you accept that truth fully, your world, without resistance, must change.